Hey YouTube. It's been a while and I took a long break. Had a lot of things that I needed to do. And now I'm back. So, welcome to a CompTIA Security Plus 701 lecture. Now, lectures are the least popular video by vote, but I thought this chapter was really cool, interesting, and fun. So, if you're interested in security, if you're interested in malware, this might be a fun video for you. If you're new to IT, it still might be fun. But if you've already took the Security Plus, maybe it's a little boring. But who knows? Let's watch it and see if we enjoy it. Okay, I give credit to Total Seminars or Security Plus book here. I took the topics and the ideas and the index, and I'm just going to give commentary to it. I didn't copy any of the text from the book or anything like that. Not borrowing any of their things. But I've been reading this book. It's awesome. I wish they'd make a 701 book that's a 601, but I'll be using the 701 objective. Okay, so what is the objective? We're going to do the objective in the Security Plus 102, 1.2, sorry. Blah. Given a scenario, analyze potential indicators to determine the type of attack. So how will we measure your ability? We can compare and contrast different type attack indicators. You'll need to analyze and determine what the type of attack is. So there's going to be questions, on your exam, like your performance-based question, where you'll need to analyze attacks and what kind of malware was used, or maybe you'll have some clues or evidence or command or something like that, or maybe even some event logs. Okay, so like I said earlier, I didn't borrow any text or anything like that. This is just impromptu kind of lecture, which is different from what I did in the Network Plus, which was using more of their content and their text and doing a lecture. But this one's just free and fun. And yeah, it's just impromptu. Nothing planned, no notes, nothing written, just going off the top of my head. So what is malware? Let's look at the word malware and the etymology of that word. Mal is a Latin prefix, like malice, meaning bad. Ware, from the word software, something that you code or develop. It's not something physical, it's abstract, it's digital. Okay, so malice software, meaning bad program, something that does something bad or harmful, something you don't want. Well, there's a lot of different types of malware, right? Take a look at all the things on the screen here. So we're going to look at these different topics. 0-day ransomware. Did I spell that correctly? No. Yeah, there's no E at the end. Okay, Trojan, worms, PUPs, fileless malware. We're going to look at command and control botnets, crypto, logic bombs, spyware, keyloggers, RATs, rootkits, backdoor, and I'm sure there's more, but that's enough just for this exam. And to be very clear, 0-day isn't a type of malware. It is an exploit, but it just means that it's unknown. There's 0 days to patch or prevent this attack because nobody knows that it exists. If you have a 0-day, you have a guaranteed chance of a success in using an exploit to gain authorized access to a computer. So 0 days are very rare. They're special, not commonly seen. And yeah, those always get patched and update as soon as they're reported. There's a huge community of it and CVEs and the whole deal. Okay, so let's look down here. Like I said, it's unknown, so there's no way to prevent it. So there's a vulnerability, it gets exploited, the malware gets looted, and we're going to talk about the different types of malware because 0-day isn't a type, like I said. And then, yeah, you have 0 days to mitigate it or to prevent it. There's no way to stop it. Okay, so that's a really hot one, hot topic to know. Next, Now, these are different types of attacks, types of malware, and what they do. And okay, first one is ransomware. Spelt wrong again. How embarrassing. Okay, ransomware. This one is WannaCry. I remember WannaCry from 2017. I remember that I had a client that got hacked from this malware, WannaCry, and I had to go on site in Oxnard to help them on the weekend. And we had to pull all of their backups and restore their data. We did not pay the ransom. We didn't pay the hackers. But essentially, they clicked a link in their email and the entire network went down. Everything got shut off. Um, Interesting to live through that time. So, looking back at it, what was WannaCry is a bunch of exploits using crypto um, ransom. So, all of your files are encrypted. You can't open them. So you have to just pay the Bitcoins, pay up the fee, and then the hacker will give you your files back. So they ransom your files, ransomware. Makes sense. Um, so it uses an exploit called Eternal Blue, which was actually patched, but people weren't up to date with their security and not patching them. So 2 weeks later, after that went out, um, worldwide, a lot of systems went down from WannaCry. This came from the shadow brokers who stole it essentially from the NSA. Okay, next one, we're going to look at Trojan. So if you remember the Trojan horse of Rome, something was hiding inside there, right? So Trojan malware, you think it's something and you intentionally think it's something good and you install it, but then you find out later it's something bad. Okay, so let's talk about one of the original Trojans from the 90s called the I Love You Trojan. There's a subject that says I love you, and it says kindly check the attached love letter coming from me. Um, and this file is actually a VBS or Visual Basic file or some sort of visual code that would attach itself to your computer and send out emails as you to all of your contacts in your address book. And then they would open it and it would rinse and repeat and spread very quickly. Okay, another one that comes from the old days is Windows XP days, if you know Bonsai Body. People installed Bonsai Body as like an assistant. It would talk to you or give you reminders or set up schedules or help you browse for things on the internet and play games. It was pretty fun. A lot of people installed it, but eventually later they found out it was spyware and they were actually selling data to third-party companies and yeah, they had a lawsuit. Okay, so that's a Trojan. You think it's good, it's actually bad. Next type is worm. So a worm is malware that spreads from computer to computer. So worms would work on the network and really needs a network to thrive. There's different kinds of worms. Um, we were looking at WannaCry and I had Eternal Blue on here. So we're going to go in more detail. What is Eternal Blue? That's a great worm. So Eternal Blue is a code that you can run, and if a server is hosting this service, like a file share or a print share, then you can essentially gain administrative access to it. And I played with this, I made a video on it, and it works so well, so consistently. Never blue screen, never crashed computer, and I always got a command line shell to control that computer. Pretty impressive. So it can spread very quickly through a network, through SMB, server message block, through version 1, because there was a memory heap issue. Um, Finding eggs. I don't know. I can't remember that exploit, but it's really cool one. A lot of literature behind that. Okay. Next one we have is a PUP, or if you've done any kind of virus scan or a Malwarebytes scan, you're going to see a lot of these, especially from like browser extensions. So potentially unwanted program. These get flagged by antivirus because they don't know if it's good or bad. but it may do things that you don't like. So it gets flagged as a pup. Next one, fileless virus. Is it possible you could have malware on your computer without it coming from a file? Um, I suppose so. Yes, it can. So there's different ways that you can load things into memory, um, and you can create connections from computer to computer. One example is the scam that's becoming common in IT. It says, hey, fix your computer. Copy and paste this into a command prompt or into PowerShell. And people actually do it thinking that it'll fix their computer. But little do they know that they've invited someone to connect back to their machine and do different things. Um, I played with PowerShell Empire and I did a fileless C2 command. And I loaded that into memory, and it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, right? Doesn't make any sense. Just a bunch of letters. But that is actually sending a command back to the C2 server, and it's allowing you to have control of it. So, which is perfect example to the next one, which is bots. Again, talking about PowerShell Empire, and we have Star Killer here. So, exactly what I was just showing you here is the result here. If you load this into a computer through like a PowerShell command, then you can make it a zombie or a bot. You can totally control it and do whatever you want with these computers. So that's called a botnet. Okay, crypto malware. Not encrypting your data and extorting you, but actually mining crypto. That can be loaded into malware and malicious files, and people could be mining different Bitcoin and different crypto, using your resources at your expense, your CPU on your computer or your GPU or your network. So that's been done before, but less common. Ransomware is really what we see a lot on corporate networks when they get infected. Logic bomb. So logic bombs do happen. You see a picture here, TikTok. Well, it's something that happens in the future. So for some reason, I just think of a scheduled task on a Windows computer. Maybe somebody gets fired and they just delete a folder, or maybe tell a computer to restart at a certain time. Something like that, like a disgruntled employee doing something naughty, loading malware, doing commands in the future when they know that they won't be there. That's called a logic bomb. Spyware. Well, spy and where? Okay, yeah, we're spying on people. Bonsai Buddy was spyware. We referenced that earlier as a Trojan. Um, and then Star Killer, like PowerShell Empire. Star Killer was the console, and this is a part of Star Killer where you can actually spy on your bot, on your zombie. You can look at their screen. You can load files and sound. You can change things on their computer. They have no idea. Well, unless you do something stupid like restart their computer. But yeah, you can do all that. And you can literally spy on everything they do, which also brings me to keyloggers, which is usually a part of spyware, but it gets its own special category. So there's all kinds of keyloggers, usually embedded in most malware if they intend to capture some data or they're trying to steal your information and get something important from you. Well, back in the day when I played with Python, I tried to make my own keylogger and play around. I never got it quite to work the way I wanted it to. It would capture certain keystrokes, but not the important ones. Just depended. Okay, remote access Trojan, or we call them a rat. Um, yeah, essentially just a way that you can gain access to a computer. Um, Similar to a C2 server or a botnet, but maybe not as complex. I do see people selling RATs online in the dark web and stuff, and that's a common thing, like hacker for hire, I'll sell you a rat. Nobody knows this exploit. But yeah, same idea as like C2 and botnet. You're just controlling some computer. You can turn this on and off at your discretion. So, okay, next, a rootkit. Rootkit is really probably the most complex of the malware, I would say. It just takes such deep understanding of hardware to really understand how to exploit it. Usually there's like different API feeds between commands, and rootkits like to stand in between those commands and hide, maybe manipulate them. So let's look at this table over here. We have different types of rootkits. Um, and the outside is not so valuable, but the inside is very. So user mode, like if you have user level, then that's not too powerful, right? Or being a rootkit in an application or from memory. But if you dive deeper into the hardware, if you can be in the boot sector, or if you can hide in a driver file or hardware, or even go inside the operating system and get system level control, you'll have full control over the computer in every essence. Okay, but it's quite hard to find a good rootkit. Backdoor. Well, is this really type of malware? Why did they put that in the book? Okay, that could be a part of, malware, or maybe it's a function or something that it does, or maybe even part of a logic bomb. Maybe you get access to a system when people really think you're gone, or maybe a hacker gains control of a network or a system. They're going to add additional counts to that system. They're going to find other ways that they can gain control of it. They want to gain a foothold. So if you find out and delete whatever account they're using, maybe they have another way of gaining access. For example, if I were to exploit a computer, I would probably have a listener drop to get a reverse shell, maybe also create different levels of accounts, Active Directory, maybe make a dummy account that looks similar to a legit account, but it's not. Having another way in is just a backdoor. Okay, I thought I would have fun. I thought I would talk about my favorite malware. So let's talk about Stuxnet. Stuxnet is my favorite piece of malware ever discovered. It's the most complex one. So it was hiding inside a USB key, inside a high security environment that didn't even have access to the internet. And an employee found this USB key, plugged it in, and infected this entire intranet and the nuclear facility in Iran. It gained control of this PLC, or program logic controller, and it could control these centrifuges, and eventually it damaged them by increasing the electricity current to make it too high. So why was it so famous? Can you tell me why? Huh, Fry? Oh, that rhymes. Anyway, okay, so the amount of 0 days in Stuxnet was crazy. Usually you don't ever see a 0 day. It's very special. But this one had four. So this one was ultra powerful. Nothing we've ever seen before. The payload size was too large, much, much larger than any other malware. The complexity that it operated in and the technical knowledge that you needed to do these 0 days, especially this one, I mean, you would just have to be a developer of that program, right? It has to be state sponsored. It's not some teenager in a garage or someone who's unemployed making malware all day. No, there's this highly organized. There's way too many 0 days. There's too many security professionals involved in this. That's why I think it's so cool. Let's talk about the exploits it used. Okay, LNK. LNKs are shortcut files, and all this exploit needed to do was run from the USB key and the explorer.exe process, show that file, and infected the computer. So once it's infected the computer from the USB key, then it can use any of these to gain a wider foothold. So these were worms. So this was a remote procedural call that would infect over a network between a server and a client, which, yeah, they had clients and they had servers in this intranet. And then server message block that file or print spooler. So if there was a printer that was being shared through the Windows network, then it would also infect it that way. So both of these were effective and got inside the network. And this one was just wild that it uses a hard-coded, unknown administrative password to gain control to the centrifuge PLC controller and gain control and ultimately destroy it. So, um, I guess I'm going to make another slide here. What kind of malware do you think Stuxnet is, given all of that? What does it do? Yeah, what kind of malware is Stuxnet? So given this, it's going through explorer.exe, so that would be something that we think a Trojan, right? We think we're getting a USB key. We can use it for later, but there's something loaded on there that gained physical access, plugged in, and exploited explorer.exe. So something in Windows operating system, like your file explorer like this. Okay, these two, printing SMB, print spooler one, and RPC, that needs network. So those are going to be a worm. This kind of malware, like hard code or unknown passwords, that's just a CVE. I don't think that's a type of malware. But yeah, so if you answered worm or you answered Trojan, then yeah, you would be correct. Okay, so thanks for watching. Read the all-in-ones and have fun.